Welcome back to another episode of Pod Talks, hosted by myself, Richie Bra, and Yulia Kobryn. So, Yulia and I are going to have a little discussion here today about choosing the right program, choosing the right training program, especially because training will cover there's so many different types of training. There's different goals that people want to focus on when it comes to training. But how does it make sense for women to know that they're picking the right thing?
Right. Hi, Richard. Really nice to be here again. Really love our talks. So let's dive in. I have been thinking a while, what really this question, how to choose a training program, covers. And there might be some obvious answers and some probably less obvious. I would start with the most obvious, which people sometimes actually skip because it's too obvious for some. What's your goal? So, goal
Mm.
setting. And as obvious and as silly as it might sound, it's actually a very good starting point because if you're telling me you're coming for weight loss, but then in the same breath, you mention, I want a bigger butt and I want um, defined arms and whatever else, then those two goals might not be sitting well, at least not on the same kind of level. And one of them will have to take dominance in the journey. So what's your goals? Is it aesthetics? Is it performance? Is it if it's aesthetics, is it weight loss? Is it really muscle building? Is it recomposition? So there is a few things maybe that are hidden under this question and this particular point. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's valid. I'd love to add to that also is performance goals as well, and also health goals. I think quite often, although people will gravitate towards the fat loss and the toning, especially a lot of the women that I work with, there are always not always, but there are often some underlying health goals to work through. So, again, women in our sort of age category that we focus on, so women in like their 30s and 40s, we're definitely looking at health goals in a sense of ensuring that we're building muscle. Like that's always going to be an underlying feature, ensuring that we're doing adequate training to make sure that they're also bone loading, their bones are getting stronger. They're also doing things like improving their heart health and their just general endurance capacity to get through the day. And another thing that I feel like people almost look at as an after effect is how training can affect sleep health and sleep performance, where all the magic happens. So there's just a few different things to look at for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned general health or health,
Mm.
and so many things also stand behind that. General health, meaning, okay, I would like to be fitter to run up the stairs or run behind the bus or play with my kids. But then at the same time, are there any current issues that you have to overcome? And when we think about health, we might think of chronic conditions like diabetes, insulin resistance, but also we forget the muscle and skeletal systems that maybe we have some postural issues that need to be addressed first before we actually focus on the aesthetics. So for me, when my clients speak to me and we start setting smart goals, that's a key element of our discussion. Is the first thing we talk. Is there anything? Obviously, most of the time, people want to, like you said, women want to focus on aesthetics. This is like one major, I have a feeling,
Motivation.
driver that we actually hire a coach because we're unhappy with how we look. Somehow, funnily enough, health is mentioned as a secondary thing. Most of my clients, at least at the beginning, obviously further down their journey, they realize how much more it is than the aesthetics. But again, certain aspects will have this dominance and priority if there is a postural issue or a lower back problem or a joint problem, etc. And that will result in maybe making a certain aesthetic-based program unsafe. I will always have that as my predominant major primary goal to sort out those issues as first.
Yeah.
So health, again, it will be the second thing, right? In order to choose the right program.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, again, does that come down to who you choose as your coach and your leader as well? Are you going to be going in and going, right, I just need a training program? Because quite often people will do that. Like all sorts of people, they'll go, right, I need to get like fit and I need, I know we're just talking about the training here, but I just need to have someone give me like a meal plan and I need someone to just tell me the exercises. But I think, again, it's looking at what are we trying to improve? What are those goals? How do you know the person that you're buying this training plan off has really tailored it specifically to your needs as well? Because there's a bigger picture here. It's not just the I need to lose weight or I need to gain some muscle. It's not as simple as, it's not as black and white as that. I think it's definitely a lot broader than that. There's so many other things
Yeah.
that come into play when actually, even when we're like looking at the structure of a program as well. So when we're looking at the structure of a program, we are, thinking, how does this work in terms of frequency for the individual? How much time do they have available? Because, we're not, I'm certainly not, focused on, you're not uni students where maybe they've got a couple of hours of lectures in the day and their first year and they've got more time
They
to
think this is a
train and
lot.
exercise, right? But we're talking about women that have got careers, women that have got families, women that have got responsibilities as well. Like, how is your program structured? It's not a do or die, but how is it structured to allow it to fit around your lifestyle? I think that's massively
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, and great you're talking about it. And you also mentioned earlier how to choose a coach and how to know that the coach is the right person and is not giving one for all. And there is a few good indicators what a good coach should at least be doing and for you to have a feel. And I think we should also mention that because absolutely we might be biased a bit, but I would like to believe that a good coach will have a very in-depth interview conversation with you about your current fitness level, your time restraints, your lifestyle. So all these aspects need to be taken into consideration while writing a program for a given person. Obviously, it touches upon what you've just said. We're working with women in their 30s, 40s that are businesswomen most of the time or career driven, and they have families as well. So the time frame is much shorter. So it has to be smartly planned. Obviously, if a coach is not asking any of these questions and is just happy to give a program, then you're probably better off downloading it from Google yourself. And you can rest assured it's not going to be tailored to your goals and needs. So I wanted to flip the script a little bit so that we go into the ideal scenario of someone that has no health issues and comes, to us, one of us, or any other coach, and is not sure what program to use, or even starts Googling themselves, like what would be the right thing. So what, in your opinion, should be taken into consideration for a fit person that wants to some certain aesthetic goals, let's say, because it's most common, I think.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's take it to that. We know that there's no
So
like,
you're on the spot.
yeah, no, I love it. So there's no obviously issues when it comes to like postural issues or health issues or
Yeah,
anything like that. And they just purely, one of the most common ones, let's say they want to get toned, right? Okay. That's the main thing. So
true.
whether that's actually, let's say most women don't necessarily want to look muscular because that's the thing that they're scared of. They just want to like tone up, right? They want less body fat, less wobbly bits. They want to have like tighter, fuller body parts. They want, to still have some curves there. They quite like still having womanly, boobs and a bum, and they want shapely legs. I think women that have never experienced having a coach or really stepped foot in a gym or just end up going towards Google, unfortunately, a lot of the time, even if they've gone to the gym and they've just always done it themselves, they'll go straight for classes. They'll go straight for classes because they'll go, right,
My
I need
favorite.
instruction. but I'm going to go and do that. And if they think they've Googled and they've gone, right, what is the best way? And when you Google, you will now see more and more. It's less about cardio, right? We know that. There might be some aspect of them talking about HIIT training online, which is good. I get that. But I think when it comes to toning, they'll see the word women need to strength train, women need to lift weights. We know that. So if they are not thinking about vesting, in themselves to either have a personal trainer or a coach or any sort of matter of guidance, they will go straight for classes. And one of the classes that they'll typically head for is body pump. Now,
That's
body
it.
pump is, 20 to 30 women in a class. It's done to music. It's done with tempo. You have a couple of rest sets where you have to change the weights, or you have to select the weight at the beginning of the exercise program because you're working out consistently for an hour. So it almost becomes more of like an endurance-based activity. And you're having to load the reps. And some of these classes, I've experienced them in the past, like decades ago, I've experienced them. And you're literally, and I've seen them now as well. And you're doing like a minute or maybe like half a song or a song of squats. You'll go into like,
less
there'll be
creative
something where it's
personal
like
trainers.
bent over row to shoulder press to bring the bar behind your
Yeah,
back
it
to
becomes a
squat to
dance.
stand. Okay, ladies, come on, exhale. There'll be all of that, and it's very, very rhythmic, but it is not applying any sort of stressors on the actual muscles itself. It's not creating enough load on the muscle tissues in order for you to be like pushing or lifting heavy. You're working in a more endurance based capacity. Along with that, you're putting yourself at risk of things like injuries, improper technique. And what are you really working? Because once you
Yeah.
start to lift and lift and lift, your technique over time will get worse as you're doing an exercise because you'll be having an element of fatigue. You don't want to show yourself up in the class. You don't want to look stupid. So you'll carry on, and then you're not really loading through your muscle tissues. You're loading through your joints. It starts
Yeah.
to become a
You
cardiovascular
know,
exercise.
as much as emotional we are, because I am totally on the same page with you about the classes, but as much as emotional as we can get about them, I do get, and I'm sure you do as well, I do get why they are appealing. Obviously,
Community.
there is a part of a social element and socializing, and
Yeah.
I have been in on gym floors for years before becoming an online coach, and I've seen the communities that are formed, and it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's great because it really becomes a habit to be training together. But if you have a specific goal and you have been doing those classes for a while, maybe they are actually a good starting point, possibly, but then all the other aspects that we've already discussed, like your posture, your body awareness, your fitness level, and your specific health conditions that you might have, all will be like out of the window once you join the class, even though it's great for the mindset. You've joined the community and it's better than, I don't know, sitting in front of TV and ordering a pizza. But so it's like, if you want to juggle the two, obviously that's better. But then eventually what worked for you will stop working because there is certain principles to follow if you are after certain physique goals. And obviously, how do you know that this is wrong? Well, you will see after a few weeks that you're less sore, your adaptations slow down, and maybe the classes are too repetitive. But then repetition is good on the other hand. But then repetitive so that your body adapts, and obviously you don't have the same responses at the beginning. You're becoming better. What was once a workout is your warm-up. So where is that progressive overload or progression? That is key element to changing the aesthetics, the physique. And you obviously mentioned it's great fun. Yeah, it becomes more of a dancing event sometimes if their coach is creative and has great music and loves dancing. But then obviously it's not tailored, it's not personalized. And, as much as women now I've noticed that shift, that they understand that some strength elements are necessary, they still don't understand what strength training really is. So choosing a right program in terms of strength also carries this variable. What type of strength training? Is it HIIT workout? Is it high reps, low reps? I mean, in my opinion, it can all work if it's personalized, but
Yeah.
classes are not, certainly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I wanted to add another element towards that because yes, I think the community aspect and social part of it's really important, and I do know that women thrive and they do really well with keeping exercising and activity by going to classes. It's something to do. You're not going to get the outcome that you are after. But there's also, I feel like, still a belief system that something has to be insanely difficult or insanely hard in order to get the results or the outcome that you need. Now, progressive overload is obviously massively important when we are looking at strength training and resistance training. It's really important. It's all relative to the individual as well. So again, the type of loading or the type of exercise that you're giving someone and it's resistance based is relative to the person's current ability and they're considering all things. But another thing that I feel like comes up time and time again is these programs where it's like a boot camp. So it's a boot
Mm-hmm.
camp where someone signs up and it's like 5 days a week. There are some gyms out there that run this type of exercise program. They tend to be quite pricey. They have they have an element of, you've got resistance within the class. It's every day of the week. You can drop in and do as many days as you like. But then they're very prescriptive with what they do for women in terms of like they give, we give you a meal plan. And it's like, yeah, but you've just given everybody the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. And then they're not seeing the results. So there is this element of like group. I think it's being married up or painted as being some sort of like group training format,
Your personal training, but it's not
but
personal.
it's
That's the key.
but
What
it's
I think
not.
what you're trying
It's
to
like a
say.
group training element. Everyone is given the same thing, and you can drop in, and yeah, it's like an 8 week shred, and you go in, and you're like, yeah, but I'm turning up, and it's like, well, I mean, again, how personal is that, and why does it have to be so hard and fast? Does it really
Yeah, and
adapt or
we
consider your lifestyle?
can't forget, yeah, we can't forget that things change, like your dietary or energy requirements change while you start dieting and changing body composition. So diet being given once and for all for 12 weeks is BS, I'm sorry, because that has to be tweaked further down the line, depending on
Yeah,
your progress, your response, your circumstances. Also, I can't imagine a diet being like a heavily meaty diet given to a vegetarian. Maybe they have two options, veggie, non-veggie, but then also personal preferences, allergies, and certain conditions that require looking into certain foods like insulin resistant diabetes, for example, are definitely not taken into consideration. And the same happens with training programs. People are happy to buy a program and pay one off rather than have a coach. But it's not as simple as that. You get a program that also needs to change while your progress develops,
yeah,
either or stalls, because sometimes it does, and things need to be tweaked. It's we're working with a live body, so it's not you can download a Google sheet and then follow it. um, but there are certain principles obviously to maintain, like progressive overload. We're going to bang about it because it's king in any physique changes. But also, what are your preferences? What's your time restraints, which we mentioned at the beginning? Like, women ask me very often, what's better for my goals? High reps, lighter, or low reps, heavier? And I always answer with a question, follow-up question. What's your starting point? How experienced of a lifter are you?
yeah,
How are your movement patterns? What's your body awareness? How ready are you to work with heavy weights? Working, because either of them needs to work at certain exertion level.
yeah,
But potentially for beginners, the first would be a better option. But maybe people don't have, like women that I work with are busy, like we talked about it, and they don't have time to do 100 reps of squats, which would take, let's say, to the same exertion as doing 10 heavy squats or hip thrust, shall I say, because it's more of a exercise that women like to focus. And when we talk more aesthetically about, growing glutes and stuff. But yeah, it's not as simple as it seems as giving just a program and following it for X amount of time.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think, yeah, when it comes to things like rep ranges as well and doing high things, like they might give you the burn effect and but I mean, how much relativity does that have in terms of how much you're loading the muscle tissues? Are you forcing recruitment of muscle fibers to help push and do the work and lift? So again, when we're thinking about general rep ranges for like aesthetics, you are looking around that sort of like 8 to 12. And I would probably say, again, this is all comes very traditional with how we've been taught in textbooks for years and years. And even with the high rep stuff, like that's definitely really good for like beginners again. But a lot of things also depend on, again, maybe we're going a little bit too deep here, but in terms of muscle fiber type as well, in terms of how, if the predominance of the muscle fibers presented in a certain area of your body, like certain muscle tissues will have a predominance of different twitch fibers. And again, genetically as well, from person to person, that will differ. But all of this sort of like, and I think when we're thinking about this, broadly speaking, it's generally people are doing, and when they think I've got to go and do some of these like classes where it is very high rep, you are looking at like just exhausting yourself. 100 reps, like
which would
I speak. I know, but I've spoken to people in the past and they've said, oh, I'm doing a squat challenge, and it's like they've gone from doing zero exercise to doing 100 squats a day for 30 days, and they're going to tone their legs
out of the blue.
Out of the blue, no prior conditioning. All they're doing is setting themselves up for pain, if I'm honest.
Totally. After the first day,
charity,
why didn't going to day two?
But if you're doing something like that for charity and it's like some sort of challenge to try and, like, I don't know, maybe you're already involved in a training program, but let's say you want to do something with had some actual real purpose behind it, and it's so absurd because it is, that you went, you know what, I'm raising £500 for such and such charity. Why, watch me do some accountability. I'm going to do 100 squats a day, but you're doing it for like an accountability for a charitable reason or for some sort of other goal. It's not relative and it's not directed to your aesthetic goals. It's never going to make you more toned.
Yeah. You mentioning that, something else came to my mind, probably of a similar nature, because you went into extreme 100 squat challenge for charity taken out of the blue. But I'm thinking, a typical gym bro split. Let's talk about it, because what is a gym bro split? A gym bro split is designed for gym bros, gym rats, people that have been training or strength training for years. They love it. They thrive in the gym environment, and they have plenty of time to train 5, 6, some probably even 7 times a week. So a gym bro split, I love that name, by the way, targets single muscle group per workout. And I see many beginner lifters coming to me and saying, yeah, I've got my plan. So I work glutes on Monday, quads on Tuesday, hamstrings on, right. But, and like splitting back for one day, chest for another day. That's great. My second question is, how long have you been lifting? Oh, I've just started. That's the plan I got. So that is also, a recipe for a disaster, because obviously you have to think how much of the conditioning you've got, and what sort of form you're going to be ending your workouts on, exercise 5, 6, 7, 8 on the same muscle group in the same day. So pairing muscle groups and body parts is also an important aspect while choosing a training program. And, if we're working with women that have their careers and families, I don't think it's very time saving approach as well. And, it simply requires so many hours in the gym, whereas things can be shortened, pairing opposing muscle groups or even doing whole body workouts. It all depends on how much time you have, how much experience you have to go to as well to the gym and lift. But I've noticed that is one of the as well funny elements that happens with the beginners. Like they think it's great to work back one day. It's like crazy.
Yeah, so this is the thing. But actually, as we start getting further in, and you actually, although you might see the traditional body part thing was a big thing, and it's, I feel like men do this a lot. Men that
A lot.
have just found something
Gym
really
bros.
cool. Gym bros, exactly as it's called. But even with women, I've seen them doing, so many sessions a week on different body parts. And it's like, well, actually, if you want an area to tone and to get some adaptation and then to heal and to reload again, you need to be hitting it twice a week, or those areas
Yeah,
of the body part twice a
maintain
week, right?
exertion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it, having a whole week between doing, like, again, it's really stupid, but having a whole week until you then train back again. Well, like, how many, when we say back, how many muscle groups are there to train on a back as well? Like, it's just, I think having some like variety. What I absolutely love for women, and I prescribe this a lot, is upper lower. Upper lower and full body days are brilliant because they allow so much flexibility for you to still drop a day to, if you've got a good week and you manage to do all 4 sessions, great. But if you need to drop a day because you only managed to get in twice, well, actually, that's where the beauty of either doing an upper day or a lower day, or if you've got only a third day, you could go and do a full body. You're still allowing the body enough stimulus to create that change. It's not like you're going to
And
have
you
to now
didn't
wait
skip a
another
body part.
9 days until you hit it. So I think that's,
Yeah, and you didn't skip a body part, like you're saying.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. And as well, in total, the volume might be the same. Let's say if you were working one full back day, and then you hit and then doing, let's say, 8 exercises in that one day, but then you split it into two, 4 and 4. The volume is the same, but actually the exertion and the input is gonna be totally different because of that exertion levels that can't be maintained in a longer session when you focus on one muscle. Totally.
yeah, exactly. Nice. So I think there's definitely been lots that we've like talked about when it comes to this topic. Do you feel like there's like anything else that we really need to like touch on as well? Like maybe even just thinking again about patience and being realistic as well and not going hard and fast. I feel like women that are used to resistance training and understand the way that it works and they're engaged in a program and they've spent years doing something and they understand patience. At the same time, you'll get women that join a program and go, well, why haven't I seen anything change in X amount of time? And you really do have to take your time. And look, the world of social media, we advertise everything on there. You see these insane results within a matter of weeks in terms of transformation. Like, I think there's a lot to be said. Well, actually, how much, especially when we're thinking about like body fat, and when body fat covers muscle tissue, you might look at someone and think they look incredibly out of shape when they've got more body fat. Well, if they go on a sort of a shred of some sort, they're going to look incredible at the other end because they've already got muscle mass that they've attained from years of working out prior. So, again, understanding patience and understanding you have to give your body time to make real changes, to see changes and make adaptations. So that's kind of like my lasting kind of thought on that. How about you?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would just add on to that, that comes again. I think we're wrapping it up now nicely, that because it comes back to what we started with. What are your goals? What's your starting point? Be brutally honest. What's your experience? How well do you move? And what's your, again, experience with strength training, but also with dieting, because this will all determine how quickly you change. So if you're a total newbie and you come into the game just starting and expect, to look like a bodybuilder after 3 months, it's not going to happen. And sometimes I have a feeling that many women entering strength training think it's a magic pill and now I will get this or that. So let's just be patient, respectful, and enjoy the process.
Yeah, no, definitely couldn't have said it better myself, Julia. Thank you so much. For those of you that have been listening, this has been another episode of Pod Talks. Julia and I will be back again Please follow us both on Instagram. You can find myself at Ritu Bra, and Yulia, you can find her at Yulia Kobryn. And we will see you here next time.